Good day, welcome to Spectrum News Recap at 12. I am Uyai Anekam, coming to you live from the beautiful hills of Ibiakuran. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Muhammadu Buhari urges APC presidential aspirants to consult, build consensus candidates for the party. Annexes sensitive election materials no longer to be kept with CBN. Plus, Macon signs agreements with 3 airlines on 2022 Hajj. Details of the stories and more in a moment. First in the news today, President Muhammadu Buhari has described the gas explosion which occurred on Friday at a Kano factory as extremely horrific. The Nigerian leader said he was distressed by the tragic accident, the second in the city in 1 month. At least 200 residents of Sharada quarters in Kano were hospitalized after inhaling chemicals from a cylinder dismantled by metal scrapers. Buhari, in a statement by his spokesman Garba Shehu, expressed shock and pain about the incident. The president assured that the federal government was in constant touch with field workers and health facilities. He commended the response of Kano government and the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development. Buhari also held hospitals, National Emergency Management Agency NEMA, State Emergency Management Agencies SEMA, and Nigerian Red Cross for supporting the victims. The statement further wished the hundreds of people that got injured a quick recovery. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has urged all presidential aspirants on the platform of the All Progressives Congress APC to consult among themselves, build consensus, and produce a formidable candidate for the party. The president addressed the candidates at a State House dinner in Abuja on Saturday. The president said the meeting was a continuation of an ongoing consultative process aimed at ensuring a smooth and strategic emergence of a standard bearer who will lead the APC to a resounding victory in the upcoming presidential polls. The president assured that in the interest of the nation and the party, he would continue to provide effective leadership during the transition processes and ongoing consultations until we successfully make the choice on the candidate that will fly the flag of our party for the presidential elections and make the party stronger. I seek your support in this all-important responsibility. Still in politics, governors of northern extraction in the ruling All Progressives Congress APC have dumped 2 of their colleagues with presidential ambitions and instead called on President Muhammadu Buhari to support a presidential aspirant from the south. The position of the governors in an indication that they no longer support the Kebbi State Governor Abubakar Bodaru and that of Kogi State Yahaya Bello, who are also in the race for the APC presidential ticket. At least 10 of the governors signed a joint statement to that effect. Those who signed the statement include Aminu Bello, Masari Katsina, Abubakar Sani Bello, Niger, Abdullahi A. Sule Nasrawa, Professor B.G. Umara Zulum, Borno, Nasir Ahmed El Rufai Kaduna, and Mohammed Inuwa Yahaya Gombe. Others are Simon Bako Lalong Plateau, Abdullahi Umar Ganduje Kano, Abubakar Atiku Bagudu Kebbi, and a former governor of Sokoto State Aliyu Magatar Kada Wamako. Meanwhile, the regional group Northern Interest Coalition has faulted the 10 northern governors of the All Progressives Congress who threw their weight behind power returning to the south in 2023. The APC Northern Governors Forum had backed the South to produce the next president of Nigeria at a meeting on Saturday. Members of the NGF include Governors Nasir El Rufai of Kaduna State, Sule Abdullahi of Nasarawa State, Baba Gana Zulum of Borno, Masari of Katsina, Abdullahi Ganduje of Kano, Solomon Lalong of Plateau, Abubakar Bello of Niger, Mohammed Inuwa of Gombe, Bello Matwala of Zamfara, Abubakar Bagudu of Kebbi, and former governor of Sokoto, Aliyu Wamako. Chairman of the Northern Interest Coalition, Malam Umar Ghazali, declared that the people in the north have rejected the decision of the governors for betraying the north. In a statement issued on Saturday, Ghazali accused the governors of conspiring against the North for their selfish interest. According to him, the governors have ganged up to pressure the President Muhammadu Buhari to endorse their self-centered agenda. In the meantime, Southeast Mandate Group SEM has urged politicians of Igbo extraction to exercise caution in their political behavior, messages and utterances while displaying support for politicians. It particularly frowned on the inclusion of its convener, Senator Julius Ucha, by a group, APC Southeast Front, in the list of those drumming support for Senator Ahmed Lawan. In a statement by Massa Leonard Nwori and Gilbert Utobo, SEM said the inclusion of Ucha came at a time when he was protesting the allocation of votes in a parallel All Progressive Congress APC governorship primary in Ebonyi State. Still from the ruling party, the All Progressives Congress APC has listed Governor Abdullahi Sule of Nasarawa as the chairman of Media and Publicity Committee for a special convention of its primary election coming up on Monday and Tuesday. The ruling party also appointed Minister of Information Lai Mohammed as the co-chair, while former Minister of Culture and Tourism Femi Fani Kayode selected as deputy chairman of the committee. According to the list released on Saturday by the Assistant Director Media and Publicity, Edegbe Odemigwe, the senator representing Katsina South District, Bello Mandiya, is the secretary, and his co-secretary is the chairman of Nigerian Diaspora Commission, NIDCOM, Abike Dabiri Eriwa. The preparations for the primaries that will hold at Tafawa Balewa Square, Abuja, are in top gear as APC presidential aspirants screened for the 2023 general elections are upbeat. More in politics, the Appeal Committee of the All Progressives Congress APC has recommended the nullification of the governorship primaries of the party in Benue State. The Benue State chapter of the party had adopted direct primaries, which the Governorship Congress held on the 27th of May 2022. Produced the suspended Catholic priest Reverend Father Hank Singh Alia as winner. The Appeal Committee, in a report submitted to the national chairman of the party, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, on Saturday in Abuja, said the exercise should be nullified to avoid the agony of not fielding a candidate in the 2023 governorship election in Benue State. The report was signed by the Benue State APC Primary Election Appeal Committee Chairman Barrister Uzuamaka Onyema and the Secretary Gyangdong Gyang. Meanwhile, the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Abdullahi Adamu, has said the party is not happy with the outburst of one of its presidential aspirants, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in Abeokuta. He said Tinubu might be sanctioned by the party. Adamu also said the party has appealed the judgment in favor of statutory delegates, meaning they will not participate in the upcoming presidential primary. He made the comments while speaking with reporters at the APC National Secretariat in Abuja on Saturday. Tinubu was campaigning in Abeokuta on Thursday when he said he deserves to lead the nation after helping President Buhari win the 2015 election. Many viewed his speech as disrespectful to the president. Bauchi State Governor Bala Mohammed has emerged as the People's Democratic Party's candidate for the 2023 governorship election. Mohammed had been in the race for the PDP presidential ticket, which he lost to Atiku Abubakar. He emerged the governorship candidate at a fresh primary conducted in the state following the withdrawal of former candidate Ibrahim Kashim Mohammed, who was the sole candidate for the election, as delegates from 20 local government areas cast their ballot. Reacting to his victory, Mohammed said he has put the presidential primary behind him and is ready to work for the success of the party from top to bottom. From the electoral umpire, the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Mohamud Yakubu, says sensitive electoral materials will in the meantime no longer be routed through the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN). He also specifically notes that beginning from the Ekiti State governorship election, INEC will not keep its sensitive materials with the CBN. According to him, this decision is to guarantee that electoral materials for the lined-up elections are not compromised. The INEC chairman stated this while responding to questions in an ongoing dialogue in elections in Abuja. Several individuals and groups have raised serious concern about the sanctity of election materials kept with the CBN, after stories about the CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele indicating interest to contest for the country's presidential seat hit the airwaves in recent months. On power, Minister of Power Abubakar Aliyu has confirmed the dip in electricity generation. The situation affects some states in Nigeria as generation dipped to below 1,940 megawatts from 3,647 megawatts recorded earlier in the week. In a statement yesterday, Aliyu explained that the cause was the partial shutdown of the Oben gas plant. This is to address the repair of critical gas processing equipment. His spokesman, Issa Sanusi, noted the government said the incident occurred when other power plants on other gas sources were undergoing planned maintenance and capacity testing. The statement said there are assurances that the repair work would be concluded this weekend and normalcy will be restored. The minister appealed to electricity consumers to endure the current state of supply. Aliyu assured that efforts are being made for a sustained improvement of supply across the country. Away from that, Nigerian pilgrims for 2022 Hajj from southern Nigeria are to pay 2.496 million naira, while their counterparts from northern parts of the country will pay 2.499 million naira for Adamawa and Borno states. They are to pay 2.408 million naira due to proximity to Saudi Arabia. The air ticket cost is the major difference in the Hajj fare. This was announced yesterday by the NACON chairman, Zula Kunle Hassan, in an extraordinary meeting with chief executives of Muslim Pilgrims Welfare Boards in the NACON Hajj House headquarters. Following announcement of the fare, the entire State Pilgrims Welfare Board executive officers and other participants gave the NACON leadership a standing ovation for a job well done in holding down the Hajj fare below 2.5 million naira deposit despite the obvious challenges. Meanwhile, the Chairman National Hajj Commission of Nigeria, NAHAN, Alhaji Kunle Hassan, has signed pilgrim airlift agreements with Max Air, Hasman Air and Flynas Airlines. Max Air and Hasman Air are Nigerian airlines, while Flynas is based in Saudi Arabia. Hassan said the Commission's advance team would leave for Saudi Arabia tomorrow, while the inaugural flight would take off on June 9th from Maiduguri, Borno State. The Inspector General of Police, IGP Usman Alkali Baba, has reaffirmed the commitment of the Nigeria Police Force to continually honor and celebrate its fallen heroes who have served the country diligently. The IGP made the call on Saturday while confirming and announcing the passing into glory of DIG Israel Ajal, retired, which occurred in the early hours of Friday, 3rd June 2022 at the University College Hospital, Ibadan. DIG Israel Ajao, who hailed from Olupona in Osun State, was the pioneer Assistant Inspector General of Police in charge of the Force Intelligence Unit, a Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of Force Criminal Investigations, and later operations before his retirement in 2010 after a meritorious service to the nation. Justice Olamide Oloyade of an Osun State High Court, who was forced into retirement by the National Judicial Commission (NGC) in 2016, has been reinstated according to findings. Justice Oloyede was reinstated by the NGC at its meeting held on Wednesday, May 11, 2022, after the judge had won the case instituted against the body before a federal high court sitting in Abuja. But after scaling the hurdle of the NGC, Oluyede was not issued a letter confirming her reinstatement until Wednesday, June 1st, 2022 by the Osun State Judicial Service Commission. Justice Oloyede's ordeal began in 2016 after writing a petition against the then Osun State Governor, Rauf Aregbesola, and asking the State House Assembly to launch a probe into the allegations raised against him. Moved by the conduct of the judge, the Osun Civil Society's Coalition petitioned the NGC, demanding Oloyede's sacking, and the body, relying on the submissions of its fact-finding committee, said the judge failed to conduct herself in such a manner as to preserve the dignity of her office, impartiality and independence of the judiciary. But Oloyede, having challenged the dismissal through her counsel J. Daudu, got a favorable judgment from an Abuja Federal High Court in June 2021. Her reinstatement by the NGC was said to be in compliance with the decision of the court since the judgment was not challenged. Former National Chairman of the All Progressives Grand Alliance (APGA), Senator Victor Ume, has dumped the party for the Labour Party. He clinched the party's ticket for the Anambra Central senatorial seat for the 2023 general elections after participating in Labour's primary election. Ume will battle Senator Uche Enwunife of the People's Democratic Party (PDP), APGA's Dozie Nwankwo, and Chief Kodi Chukwu Okelekwe of the All Progressive Congress in the main election next year. In the run-up to the 2023 polls, the Independent National Electoral Commission has announced the release of its regulations and guidelines for the conduct of elections. The Commission announced this on its official Twitter page. The 37-page document contains 106 guidelines and regulations for elections, as well as health measures during conduct of elections. In Article 30 of the guideline, the Commission stated that telephones and electronic devices capable of taking pictures were not allowed in polling booths. In Benue State, Governor Samuel Otham has reiterated his call for complete autonomy for the judiciary to enable the arm of government dispassionately uphold the rule of law. Governor Otham made the call in Makurdi during the swearing-in ceremony of 3 newly appointed High Court judges in the state judiciary. The governor further recommended that all entitlements due to the judiciary should be deducted at source from the Federation accounts and remitted directly to the heads of courts for onward payments to judicial staff. Elsewhere, the Federal Capital Territory Administration has ordered owners of empty plots of land providing cover for criminal elements to begin the development of their property or have their permits revoked. The threats are sequel to efforts to rid Apo district of criminals allegedly being harbored at the scrap market. Senior Special Assistant to FCT Minister on Monitoring, Inspection and Enforcement, Ikaro Atta, who led the team to continue with the demolition, advised owners of unoccupied plots to go to the Department of Development Control to seek permits. He, however, warned that the administration would have no option but to revoke the titles to the plots if the owners failed to take over the reclaimed lands. To the judiciary now, where Justice Inyangeko of a Federal High Court in Abuja has fixed August 29th for judgment in a suit seeking to extradite the embattled suspended Deputy Commissioner of Police Abba Kyari to the United States of America for trial over alleged internet fraud. The judge fixed the date after taking arguments for and against the suit by parties involved. Recall that Kyari, whose arguments were presented by Noreni Jimo, had asked the court to refuse the extradition request on the ground that he committed no offense to warrant the federal government sending him to America for trial. He informed the court that more than a year before his arrest, he had written the Attorney General of the Federation and the Inspector General of Police notifying them that he had opened a channel of communication with the suspected internet fraudster Raymond Abbas, popularly known as Hush Puppy. In the two letters tendered in court, Kyari explained that the purpose was to give confidence to the suspected fraudster and lure him to come to Nigeria, where an ambush was laid for a sting operation by his own strike force. He further told the court that the wire fraud charge brought against him by the American government was not known as an offense under Extradition Act and should therefore not be allowed by the court to be used to extradite him. Still to come in the news. CBN asks bank customers to produce indemnity for online transfers above 1 million naira. Do stay with us. Thanks for staying tuned. In Africa, West African leaders of Saturday failed to agree what action to take against military juntas in Mali. Burkina Faso and Guinea postponing a decision for a month, insiders at the meeting said. A senior source in the Ghanaian presidency, asking to remain anonymous, told media they decided to wait until next ECOWAS summit on July 3rd. Another source said the leaders had not been able to agree, particularly over Mali. The summit in Ghana's capital, Accra, had been billed as the forum to agree whether to ease or ramp up sanctions against the three junta-ruled nations facing jihadist insurgencies. The Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, had met in a bid to rule whether to keep lightened or lift retaliatory measures on Mali, imposed in January after its military regime announced plans to stay in power for another 5 years. Ghana's President Nana Akufo-Addo opened the summit, attended by the heads of state of most of the 15 member countries, but without any representative from Mali, Burkina Faso or Guinea visible in the audience. Still in Africa, Senegal's president and head of the African Union, Macky Sall, has told his Russian counterpart to consider the impact that food shortages caused by the Ukraine conflict are having on the continent. Sall made the call when the two men met in the southern Russian city of Sochi. He asked Putin to become aware that African countries, even if they were far from the theater of action, were victims on an economic level of the conflict. He added that food supplies should be outside of the West sanctions on Russia's. Prior to the conflict, more than 40% of wheat consumed in Africa came from either Ukraine or Russia. In his reply after the meeting, Putin said Russia was always on Africa's side. Meanwhile, Chad has declared a food emergency in the country. A decree signed by the chief of the military transition, Mohammed Idris Deby, calls on all national and international partners to help the population. It cited a constant deterioration of the food and nutritional situation and growing risk of food scarcity if no assistance was given to the Sahelian nation. Meanwhile, the United Nations estimated last year that 5.5 million Chadians, or more than a third of the population, were in need of urgent humanitarian aid. The situation has only worsened following the war in Ukraine. On the foreign scene, Prince Harry and his wife Meghan today joined the royal family for their first public appearance in Britain in 2 years at a Platinum Jubilee service for Queen Elizabeth II. Record-breaking 70 years on the throne, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, as they are formally known, arrived mostly to cheers from the crowd outside of St. Paul's Cathedral. The 37-year-old former British Army Captain Harry was dressed in a morning suit, complete with military medals, while 40-year-old Meghan was in an off-white dress and matching hat. They took their seats inside among the 2,000-strong congregation for the Church of England service, which ended with fanfares and the national anthem, God Save the Queen, plus a rare peal of the country's biggest bell, Great Paul. The United States now, where President Joe Biden has called on lawmakers to pass legislation to curb gun violence in the country 1 week after 19 children were shot dead by a gunman in their school. Biden made the call in an emotional speech broadcast live on national television. He proposed several laws, including a ban on assault weapons, which was allowed to lapse under a Republican administration in 2004. Other proposals included a limit on high-capacity magazines, secure storage laws, red flag laws, universal background checks, and the removal of protection laws for gun manufacturers.
For God's sake, how much more carnage are we willing to accept? How many more innocent American lives must be taken before we say enough, enough? I know that we can't prevent every tragedy, but here's what I believe we have to do. Here's what the overwhelming majority of American people believe we must do. Here's what the families in Buffalo and Uvalde in Texas told us we must do. We need to ban assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. And if we can't ban assault weapons, then we should raise the age to purchase them from 18 to 21. Strengthen background checks, enact safe storage law and red flag laws, repeal the immunity that protects gun manufacturers from liability, address the mental health crisis, deepening the trauma of gun violence and as a consequence of that violence. These are rational, common sense measures. Here's what it all means. It all means this. We should reinstate the assault weapons ban on high-capacity magazines.
Away from that, Ukraine said Saturday its forces were managing to push back against Russian troops in fierce fighting in Severodonetsk, despite Russia throwing all its power into capturing the strategic eastern city. At least 7 civilians were reported killed in the Luhansk region, where Severodonetsk is located, and in the southern city of Mykolaiv, while a revered wooden church was reported to be on fire because of the fighting. Luhansk Region Governor Serhiy Gadai said in an interview posted online that the invading forces had captured most of the Severodonetsk, but the Ukraine's forces were pushing them back. Russia's army claimed some Ukrainian military units were withdrawing from the city. Severodonetsk is the largest city still in Ukraine's hands in the Luhansk region, where Russian forces have been gradually advancing in recent weeks after retreating or being repelled from other areas, including around the capital, Kyiv. Meanwhile, Russia's foreign ministry will summon the heads of U.S. media outlets in Moscow to a meeting next Monday to notify them of tough measures in response to U.S. restrictions against Russian media. The ministry's spokeswoman Maria Sharonova warned that if the work of the Russian media operators and journalists was not normalized in the U.S., the measures would inevitably follow. She said the heads of the Moscow's office of all American media will be invited to the press center of the Russian Foreign Ministry to explain the consequences of their government's allegedly hostile line in the media sphere. It could be recalled that Russian lawmakers had passed a bill last month giving prosecutors powers to shut foreign media bureaus in Moscow if a Western country has been deemed unfriendly to Russian media. parliament and reported girlfriend of President Vladimir Putin in a new tranche of measures. The Russian president has explicitly denied having a relationship with the former Olympic gymnast. The EU said Kapivi was a chairwoman for a media group that owns large stakes in organizations that reproduce the Russian government's propaganda. At least 34 people have died after a fire that sparked a huge chemical explosion and was still blazing today at a shipping container depot in Bangladesh. According to officials, the toll was expected to rise with over 300 people injured, some of them seriously, and eyewitnesses said there had been seen unrecovered bodies in the facility near the major southern port of Chittagong. Several hundred rescuers were battling the blaze that broke out late Saturday in Sikuda, about 40 kilometers from Chittagong, when a number of containers holding chemicals exploded, the fire brigade told reporters. Chittagong Regional Police Chief Anwar Hussain told media that the injured include at least 40 firefighters and 10 police officers. Also, at least 5 firefighters were among those killed. In China, several people have been arrested in Hong Kong. Reports say as authorities seek to restrict public commemoration of the Tiananmen Square massacre. Yesterday, Saturday, was the 33rd anniversary of the highly sensitive incident in which China's rulers crushed peaceful protest with tanks and troops. Until recently, Hong Kong was one of the few Chinese territories which commemorated the event, but Beijing has effectively banned the city's annual public vigil. At least 6 people were seen being taken away by police on Saturday, mostly in the evening.
I must stress that if you are staying together with a group of people at the same place at the same time and with a common purpose to express certain views, it is already meeting the definition of a topic of a meeting. And depending on the number of persons at the scene, that may contravene offences, including unauthorized assembly, or due to the act, may even contribute other more serious offences. I must stress that if you are staying together with a group of people.
In business, the Central Bank of Nigeria has ordered banks and payment service providers to accept indemnity from customers for highly secured online funds transferred. It stated this in a circular signed by the Director, Payment System Management Department, Musa Jimo. It said banks were required to accept indemnity from customers for highly secured online funds transfer above 1 million naira for individuals and 10 million naira for corporates, subject to a maximum of 25 million naira for individuals and 250 million naira for corporate entities. It also noted that banks were to provide customers with the option of electronic or paper indemnity, implement electronic indemnity with stricter controls requiring biometric verification of identity, as well as adhere to multiple factor authentication for highly secured online funds transfer. On our business news, discharged bankers under the aegis of the Association of Ex-Staff of Non-Consolidated Banks of Nigeria have given the Central Bank of Nigeria and the Nigeria Deposit Insurance Corporation an ultimatum to pay their 5.7 billion naira benefits. The chairman of the association, Magnus Maduka, issued the ultimatum on behalf of the members during a televised interview about 2 weeks after the one in court. He said the judge had given the agencies 3 months to pay up, which delay would begin to attract 10% interest on the sum. Meanwhile, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, ICANN, has elected its 58th president, Tijani Issa. His investiture took place in Lagos and was witnessed by the governors of Lagos and Jigawa states, the Minister of Education Adamu, sister professional bodies, the academic community, and other relevant stakeholders. In his acceptance speech, the new ICANN president promised to hold dear the position of trust and responsibility reposed in him by his professional colleagues, with a commitment to live the ICANN ideal of integrity, professionalism, and defending public interest. Still to come in the news. England slumped to first defeat against Hungary in 60 years. Do stay with us.
A knowledge of global businesses, economic activities, a new wave of the stock market, forex market, cryptocurrencies, and NFTs create new dynamics towards emerging market millionaires and billionaires. From the dot-com era to the oil booms, the fundamental news drives the market. This is Business 360, taking you to the business around the globe. Join us from 11:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. weekdays, exclusive on Spectrum Television. Business 360, your prism to world businesses.
In health, a physician with the Accident and Emergency Department, Federal Medical Center, Abuja, Dr. Arome Adejo, has decried the lack of equipment to treat accident victims, especially those in critical condition, in tertiary hospitals in the country. Dr. Adejo, who stated this during an interview with journalists, said the lack of CT scans and a shortage of blood at the blood banks led to avoidable deaths of accident victims. Recall that the World Health Organization states that road traffic accidents cost low and middle income countries between 1 and 2% of their gross national product annually, more than the development aid the countries receive. Still on health, Morocco's national regulatory agency overseeing the use of cannabis for medical use has met for the first time in one of the last steps before legalization in the world's top cannabis resin producer. The North African nation had adopted a law in 2021 provisionally authorizing the legal uses of cannabis for medical, cosmetic, and industrial purposes, and tasked a national agency to oversee the process. Chaired by Interior Minister Abdel Lafitte, the National Agency for the Regulation of Cannabis Activities approved its organization chart and budget for the year 2022. This will be responsible for controlling all stages of the production chain, from the import of seeds to the marketing of cannabis products, as well as overseeing licensing procedures for national and international operators in the legal cannabis industry. Moving now to Latvia, where the first case of monkeypox has been confirmed. The government Center for Disease Prevention and Control made this known in a statement. The agency said the patient, who was under 50 years of age, was infected abroad. In sports, England manager Gareth Southgate blamed fatigue from a long season as Three Lions slumped to their first defeat against Hungary in 60 years on Saturday as the host earned a shock 1-0 win in Budapest. Dominic Slumblas scored the only goal from the penalty spot as Hungary celebrated their first victory over England since 1962. Defeat on penalties to Italy in the Euro 2020 final was the only time Gareth Southgate's side had been beaten in their previous 22 games. However, an experimental side failed to trouble the host, who were roared on by 30,000 crowd largely consisting of school children. In sports, UEFA has apologized to Liverpool and Real Madrid fans caught up in events around the Champions League final and said it will not happen again. Liverpool fans described heavy-handed policing, organizational chaos, and overcrowding at last Saturday's showpiece game. Real Madrid had asked for answers on what they termed the series of unfortunate events. A UEFA statement acknowledged that no football fan should be put in that situation and promised that there will not be a recurrence. French President Emmanuel Macron asked that ticket holders who were blocked from entering the stadium by security staff be reimbursed as fast as possible. Still in sports, Manchester United forward Cristiano Ronaldo has voiced his opinion on the current state of affairs at the club with the appointment of former Ajax coach Erik ten Hag. United completed what was reportedly their worst season in Premier League history, barely finishing 6th with 58 points after a slip by the Hammers and 35 points behind league-winning City. There were also reports of tension and infighting, with several players angered by former interim coach Rangnick's outspoken comments in news conferences. It was also reported that some of the squad were not happy with Maguire as captain. Still in the sports world, Scottish referees Craig Napier and Lloyd Wilson have come out as gay in a bid to see a climate change in football after being inspired by Jake Daniels and George Cavallo. 32-year-old Napier, a Category 1 referee, becomes the first openly gay figure in Scottish men's professional football since Justin Fashanu played for Ayr and Hearts in the mid-1990s, several years after announcing his sexuality. He was quickly followed in coming out by fellow official Wilson, who officiates in Scotland's lower leagues. In a video on the Scottish Football Association's Twitter account, Napier said he wanted to help remove the stigma and fear that others in his position may feel about revealing their sexuality. Finally, in sport, Real Madrid have signed Chelsea defender Antonio Rudiger on a free transfer. The 29-year-old Germany international has agreed a 4-year contract at the Bernabeu and will join when his deal with the Premier League club expires on June 30th. Rudiger, who will be presented as a Madrid player on July 20th, spent 5 seasons at Chelsea, winning the FA Cup in 2018, the Europa League in 2019 and the Champions League in 2021, but rejected the club's offer of a contract extension. Madrid were impressed by the centre-back's performances in their Champions League quarter-final tie in April, when Rudiger scored a 3-2 second leg win at the Bernabeu, which saw Chelsea eliminated 5-4 on aggregate. On entertainment, Mariah Carey has been sued in the United States for alleged copyright infringement over her global hit 1994 song All I Want for Christmas Is You. Court documents show the plaintiff, a musician named Andy Stone, says he co-wrote and recorded a festive song of the same name in 1989 and never gave permission for it to be used. In the suit filed on Friday in Louisiana, Stone alleges that Carey and her co-writer Walter Afancio knowingly, willfully and intentionally engaged in a campaign to infringe his copyright. He is seeking damages of $20 million for alleged financial loss. Still on entertainment, Colombian superstar Shakira and FC Barcelona defender Gareth Puig today announced they were calling time on their relationship of more than a decade. The 45-year-old Hips Don't Lie songstress is one of the biggest names in global music industry and has sold more than 60 million albums. Spanish football hero Puig, 35, won the 2010 World Cup and the 2012 European Championship and is a 3-time Champions League winner with Barcelona. Away from that, Amber Heard has been ordered to pay Johnny Depp $10.35 billion in damages for libel after their protracted court case. However, the Pirates of the Caribbean actor would also have to pay compensatory damages. A jury in the United States on Wednesday found Amber Heard liable for defaming her ex-husband Johnny Depp, and the judge ordered she pay him $10.35 million, roughly £10 million, pounds in damages. The jury had recommended $15 million. The jury also found in favor of Heard in some aspects of her countersuit against them, specifically that he defamed her through his attorney, and awarded her $2 million. The BET Awards will return for its 2022 version on June 26th, with Taraji P. Henson back to have the yearly service observing Black greatness in music, film, TV, and sports at the Microsoft Theater in Los Angeles. The honors got back to a live occasion last year in the wake of going virtual in 2020 cycle, with Henson driving a show that drew 2.4 million watchers across then the Viacom's networks, including BET, Her, MTV Logo, and VH1 by means of simulcast with the actual service. The countdown to BET Awards pre-show and DJ Cassidy's Pass the Mic, BET Awards edition get together, BET alone scored 4.6 million watchers across its 8 hours of inclusion. The current year's show, which will air live on BET at 8 p.m. ET and PT, will be managed by Coney Orlando, EVP Specials, Music Programming and Music Strategy, with Jamal Nusret, VP Specials, Music Programming and Music Strategy, a co-chief maker for BET. Jesse Collins Entertainments, Jesse Dion Hammond and Jen Rosenclair are leader makers. Meanwhile, Nigerian music star Temilade Openiyi, better known as Tems, is on the rise on the international scene as she continues to gain more recognition in 2022. Tems, who broke into the international scene after her feature on Wizkid's Essence released in 2020, has been nominated in 3 categories for the 2022 edition of the BET Awards. This was made public by the award organizers, who released the complete nomination list on Wednesday. The complete list released by the organizers showed Nigeria's Tems was nominated in the Best New Artist, Best International Act, and Best Collaboration categories. Aside from Tems, Nigerian music icon Wizkid and YBNL artist Fireboy DML were also nominated in 2 categories each. And that's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website spectrumtv.ng. You have been watching Spectrum News at 12. I am Uyai Aniekan. Thanks for watching and do enjoy the rest of your day.